Hi, I'm Ralphie, a current fourth year ODMS student at the University of Houston, and today I'll be sharing with you guys how you can get into your dream optometry school. So to start off, I applied to 5 schools. I applied to SCCO, Berkeley, ICO, the University of Houston, and Midwestern in Chicago, and I was accepted into all 5. So I'll be sharing with you guys some tips and answering some questions that you guys may have. The big question that everyone always asks is, what was your GPA and your OAT score? And my GPA was a 3.5 and my science OAT score was a 340 and my overall was a 350. For extracurriculars, I was a part of a lot of cultural organizations on campus. I became president of my Vietnamese Student Association, and I was also state representative for the Vietnamese nonprofit organization. I was a part of pre-optometry club, but I was only a member and I only went out to a few events, so I wasn't highly involved with that. For work experience in optometry's office, my mom is an optometrist, so I did work with her throughout high school and on my breaks during undergrad. Alright, so I wrote all your questions in my notebook and let's get started. What is the best resource for the OAT? I took the MCAT before I took the OAT, and they're completely different, but I didn't study too much of the OAT since I had already studied really hard for the MCAT, but I did skim the Kaplan books, and I think that's a great resource. And I also used the OAT Cracker questions, and I didn't use too much of it, so I don't really have an opinion on that, honestly. For me, the best way to study was to really understand the fundamentals of the core science subjects. So what I mean by that is just really understand the basics so that you can actually apply that information to more complex problems instead of just memorizing. I did the best in organic chemistry, even though I took organic chemistry during my summer at a community college, whereas I took all the rest of my science classes at my university. And I think I just really was able to understand it versus my other sciences. I kind of just like memorized my way through my classes. How is the DAT compared to the OAT? So I don't really know too much about the DAT, but I do know that the MCAT and the OAT are completely different, even though they cover similar subjects. So I would just look into it more. I'm going into my junior year, but want to take the OAT this summer. Is that a good choice? So I actually graduated college within 3 years, and I took the OAT in October after I graduated. So I would say if you're really confident in all the core classes and you've taken all your core classes, then just use a couple months to study for it and you can definitely take it this summer. Is it okay if you have a couple C grades on your prereqs but a high GPA? Yes. So my first semester in undergrad in general chem, I did get a C. And I don't think that it's terrible that you get a C in these core classes. However, I do think that it's important for you to really brush up on your knowledge in those classes so that you can score maybe better on the OET. But also, I don't think that GPA is everything. I think it's a good way for you to get an interview, but it's definitely not everything. I remember in my Berkeley interview, once we got to interview day, they basically said your scores and your GPA don't matter anymore. And right now everyone has a clean slate and basically we're just here to really get to know you. So a GPA is good obviously for the initial application, but it's definitely not everything. For optomcas, do you upload the letter of rec yourself or do the instructors send them to optomcas? I believe that you can put their email in optomcas and then they get an email where they can upload the letters themselves, but I never saw any of my letter of recs. Does submitting an app earlier or later affect chances of acceptance? Yes. Well, it depends on the school, but most schools do rolling admissions. And what rolling admissions is basically the earlier you apply, the earlier you get your interviews, and then the earlier they accept you. So as they accept more people, the class starts to fill up until they reach their maximum. The only exception that I know out of all the 5 schools I applied to was Berkeley. They had one day where they interviewed all their applicants, so for them it wasn't a rolling admission. I actually applied late September and I didn't take my OAT until October, so I sent in my application without my OAT scores, and I actually do not recommend this at all because most schools, as I said, are a rolling admissions, and one of the schools in particular was SCCO. I went to their interview in January or February, and during the interview they were like, we only have one more spot for our class. So I ended up getting waitlisted for SCCO, but then accepted a few weeks later. But I don't recommend it. Apply early if you can. Are there supplemental essays for each school or just a personal statement? So each school does have supplemental essays. Most of the essays revolve around asking why you think you would be a good fit for the school, and also if you have perseverance or grit, what kind of a person you are, and how you handle challenge. Honestly, optometry school is very different from undergrad. I really want to know that you can succeed in their program. Tips on a personal statement. So I think a personal statement is one of the most important parts of your application, and it's really where you can tell them why you're passionate about optometry. And I think that is what you really need to focus on, because these schools already know your grades and your OAT scores, but they want to know why you want to join their program. And so just really write why you want to do optometry, what inspired you, and don't make it really like a resume, but more of a personal experience that they can share and understand. What I wish I knew. I would say my top 3 tips are: 1, to apply early; 2, to really research the schools. All the schools are very different from each other, even though they may seem similar online. And so that way you can really be personal during your interview with them as to why you are a good fit for their school. And 3, just be confident in yourself. Don't worry about if your scores are too low, if your grades are too low. Just go into the interview and just be yourself and let them know why you are passionate about doing optometry. The most important part of your application is your interview and your personal statement. And in those 2, you can really talk about how you are passionate for optometry, why you're passionate for optometry, how you handle stress and challenges, because optometry school is very hard. You are going to be under lots of stress, lots of pressure throughout the whole 4 years basically. And so they really want to know that you are up to the challenge and that you will succeed in their program. As much as it is an investment for you, it's also an investment for them. And I would research all the schools and really look into why I want to go to that school, because all the schools are a little bit different. And I think if you really know why you're the perfect candidate for their school, then that will set you apart from other candidates who are just applying. For me personally, I knew that I wanted to learn more about myopia control, and so the schools that I applied to do have myopia clinics. And when I was narrowing down which school I wanted to go to, I was between Berkeley and Houston, which both have really good myopia clinics. If you don't know what you want to do, I think that's still okay. It's just knowing what's out there about what's different about the schools will definitely make you stand out. So that's it today for my Q&A. If you have any other questions, comment below or find me on Instagram. And good luck applying. Bye!